we've got here. I'm so excited to be joined today by some of the artists behind this fantastic film, Babygirl. Please join me in welcoming writer, director, producer Halina Reijn and actors Nicole, Kidman, and Dickinson. You know what? I think we're out of time. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on a fantastic film. I just want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that Nicole Kidman is in an AMC theater.
Heartbreak feels good in a place like
Thank you. This is actually an audience of your fellow SAG-AFTRA actors. So I usually like to start by asking, how did you
Love you all.
I usually like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card? But I'm not sure because none of you are from America, so I don't know. Maybe I should just ask, what was your first acting job? And Halina, you started as an actor, so I'd love to hear from you as well.
I definitely have my SAG card.
You have like 4 SAG awards, I'm sure you do.
I've never worked here, so as an actor, so I don't have my SAG card, unfortunately. And I'm retired now, so I will never get my SAG card. But is the question, what was my first job?
Your first job as an actor?
As an actor, my first professional job was of playing Ophelia in Hamlet on the stage.
Wow.
She started high.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Nicole, for you?
I did a film called Bush Christmas in Australia, and then I did BMX Bandits.
Harris?
I was 14 when I started work, so I've been around a while now.
Wow. You started young too, didn't you?
Yes, I mean, yes, I started young, but I consider Ophelia my first role, but I did a lot of TV before that.
Oh, wow.
Harris, for you?
I did a film called The Falling and I played Boy 2. Florence Pugh was the lead. I was in the background doing nothing.
I also thought Beach Rats was your first movie.
No, I'd done some stuff before. That was like my first lead role, I guess, yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I haven't seen your whole filmography then. I need to
No,
find
you
this
need to
movie.
check out Boy 2, man.
Boy 2. Well, again, congratulations on such a sharp, daring, and fascinating movie. I'd like to start with Halina. Can you talk about sort of the initial idea or spark that led you to write Babygirl? Did it begin with a story, an image, or just an idea?
It sort of started with a theme for me personally. I think I'm very interested in anything that has to do with, are we beasts or are we civilized? And I think for this specific script, the question that I had was, is it possible to love all the different layers of oneself and not just the sides of our character that we like to show each other, but the ones that we're embarrassed about and nervous about, and I wanted to discover that and just write a sexy film about female liberation.
I mean this as a compliment. That's always a terrible way to start a sentence. But in a way, this kind of reminded me of like the really good version of the 90s erotic thrillers that I grew up on, which I love, by the way, don't get me wrong, but it's like a very smart, perceptive, it's both paying homage and kind of sending them up.
Yeah, I think, I love to say this sentence, I want to be in conversation with, I really like this sentence. I want to be in conversation with all the roles that I played on stage, so the Ophelia's, Taming of the Shrew, Hedda Gabler, Norris Doll's House, those are in my DNA, and those are all about women trying to liberate themselves, most of them kill themselves. And then, so I wanted to create a role for a woman who would stay alive and liberate herself, which was refreshing. And I wanted to be in conversation with these 90s thrillers that really helped me when I felt very lonely in my own sexuality, and I watched 9.5 Weeks, or all of them, and I felt seen, and I thought, oh, it's maybe okay that I have these darker thoughts at night. But I wanted to do it in a less sexist way, with all due respect. And I didn't want my characters to be punished at the end. I didn't want anybody to die. I wanted to show that all 4 of them, all the lead characters, are ambiguous. All of them are devils and angels. We are all flawed and broken, but we're also trying to do the best that we can.
I am conditioned to not expect a happy ending from a movie like this, and so I was very pleasantly surprised, you know.
Yes, it's a happy ending figuratively and literally.
I should be set her up for that.
Yeah. This movie is like a happy ending. Nicole, you have a long history of reaching out to directors to collaborate, and largely female directors. How did you first become aware of Halina, and what interested you in working with her?
I saw Instinct, which she did, which is a small film that she did when she was in her home country, and it was in her own language, but it was so powerful, and I just thought it was really bold as well. But yeah, I'm always on the search for new voices, interesting voices, and be willing to support them, and sort of try to either ignite or discover or relaunch their careers. So this was igniting her. But it's really interesting because you asked me about where I started, and yes, I did Bush Christmas, but strangely enough, I did Vendela Bergman in Spring Awakening, which is a Deacon play.
Did you?
Yes, and I
I was in that
going,
when I was 11. Oh my god.
yes, and
I didn't know that.
I was 13
Oh my gosh.
when I did it, which is a very, very strange play. I mean, it's a
Yes.
very, but in terms of actually those infiltrating your decisions later, it's interesting how when you're, and it's a very unusual, the sexuality of that play is very deep. So it's funny how that comes full circle, so for anyone that's not read Spring Awakening, go and read it. Yeah, it's very weird, but it's very good.
I did it in high
But it
school.
deals
It
with
was, we had to do an edited version, so it was like a half hour long.
Right.
What is it like to, get that phone call that Nicole Kidman wants to talk to you about something?
Yeah, of course I was almost fainting. I got really dizzy. I really always tried to channel her in the wings when I was afraid to go on stage and do things that demanded me to be courageous. So when she reached out, that meant everything to me, and I'm a great admirer of her work, and I still am.
So I think you originally talked about working on something else. At what point did you pitch this idea?
You never pitched it, right?
No. No, I just told you after Bodies, I'm going to write something myself for the first time, because I always wrote with other people, and this was my first solo script, if you will. And then you just always stayed in touch, and you were so supportive. And then when you heard the title, you were intrigued.
Yeah, I thought there was a whimsy to the title, but when I read it, I was like, wow, this is not what I expected. And then it was like, okay, how do we do this? Are we gonna get the money to do it? And I just was very, very excited, because it's such a complex, layered, and it's much more than what it appears.
Speaking of which, Harris, your character Samuel, is such an enigma at first, and such a fascinating character. What was sort of your initial take on him? I don't know if you got to read the whole script at the start, or someone just sort of told you the idea of the movie.
I got the script
You did.
before we spoke, right, Halina?
Yeah, I
Halina
mean,
read me every
listen.
single line.
Yeah,
She
I was
performed.
trying to convince him to do the part. I was begging him to do it. Yeah, so I sent him the script to go try to convince him, and then what happened?
I was quite scared of it, to be honest. I was quite scared of it because it was written really well, and I was, sometimes you read something and you think, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and then you think, well, I just won't do it then, because it's easier to just go, all right, I'm not even going to put myself in that situation. I was scared, but I think that also ignited some excitement and intrigue, because then we had such amazing conversations and continued to explore this guy. But there was a lot of Samuel that was unanswered, which I kind of liked, and I don't always enjoy getting a character that has very clear parameters. I think it's nice to have someone who's a little unsure or hard to understand, and it was constantly changing. We had such an amazing time finding him throughout the film as well, which was interesting.
I think for me it's very important to create characters that don't necessarily are logic. I think human behavior is not logic at all. It's very conflicted and we have very different tendencies all the time, and we behave differently with our mothers than we behave with our daughters or our friends or in a situation with people we don't know. And so we talked about that a lot, how we don't necessarily write backstories that all add up, but we try to celebrate the moments between people in every scene.
For the two of you as actors though, even if it's not something that's like overtly in the script or agreed upon as a character backstory, do you have to know, do you create your own backstory to fill all that in?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I sort of build the character as months and months prior, and then sort of through conversations. So there's an enormous amount of pre-work that goes into just formulating, because it has to exist in your psyche and your body. For me, it has to exist so that no matter what happens on the day or where I'm asked to be, I'm always I will be in character. So luckily with this, we had it, a lot of the scenes were lit so that no matter where you moved or what you did, and the way the cinematographer was with the camera operators, they would follow you, they would capture you. And there was a lot of before action they'd be filming and after cut. So a lot of the moments are captured not in that space between action and cut. A lot of the private moments or the grabbed moments are there. So if you're not staying present and in your character and available to what's going on in the environment, then that's not going to be real. And the other great thing we had is we had scenes in this that you'll see, like the EMDR scene when you see my eyes going back and forth, and they were full scenes. A lot of the montage, they were also full scenes, so you don't see the beginning, middle, and end, you just see a grabbed moment of it. But that vibrates because it's a fully formed time between them. So the scenes in the bathroom were full scenes. The scene in the alley is a full scene. It's kind of, there were therapy scenes that are not in the film. But what they did is they penetrate the film, and I really believe that's why you have rehearsal. And if you don't have time for rehearsal, then you're whatever you have in terms of the scenes that end up in the film or not, all imbue the vibrations of the movie. So I'm waffling on, but hopefully, because this is a room full of actors, you're following.
Well, Harris, for you, even though this character has an air of mystery, were there questions that you would answer for yourself?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I think Samuel's circumstances were very much in the present, like understanding where he was in his life, you know, as an intern, you know, trying to understand why he wanted to be there. But I mean, I had a lot of time as well. I got involved like months and months before, so tried to, but there was lots that we didn't answer purposefully as well.
Because there's a theory that your character's not even real.
Yeah,
that he's like a figment of her imagination. Yeah.
Which is kind of fun because then you can kind of do whatever you want. You know, there's no like, it doesn't matter.
Do whatever I want.
You do whatever you want. On the contrary.